Hey everyone, welcome back to another exciting episode of Attack Productions. Today, Baker up once again by Jake and Fluff.
What's going on, y'all?
What's up, beautiful people?
In today's matchup is, well, it's Jake versus Fluff. Jake has brought us Trunks and Vegeta, or Trunks Vegeta, and Fluff has brought out SS4 Vegeta. Both these are great decks, and these both have metal leaders from TCG Metals. Great bunch of guys. I think right now they're pausing production, but once they bring that stuff back up, check them out, guys. Yeah, buttons, links, check them out. Get into the match.
Yeah, so
Wow.
yeah, it has been a while since we've played.
It always goes to stand that whenever we're on camera, you always roll me in the worst kind of ways. And I don't know if that's because like the nerves of the camera get to me, or if you just have like WrestleMania syndrome where you peak your highest when it counts the most.
I'm not sure. We'll have to see how this match turns out, but this is store champs, so we both kind of like brought out the big guns, as it were. We decided to play decks we're comfortable with and just try and play the best game we can.
I know that I have an uphill battle against your Trunks cheated deck. You're going to establish much earlier than I am going to establish. So I'm going to have to deal with your onslaught sooner than you're going to have to deal with mine. And you're going to be able to get the quality of your hand up much faster than I'm going to get the quality of my hand up. So I know that when I do play cards, I have to make them count. And there's a pretty big pivotal piece of information I forgot about a card in my hand. I mulliganed for it and then talked myself out of the effect of the card while we were playing the match. And we'll go over that.
Yeah, that's always frustrating. Like, as the game goes on, things get more and more complicated, and it's easy to like miss a line of text or forget exactly how an effect works. So,
Yeah.
those things can happen pretty easily. And I've got a pretty standard start for this deck so far. If you've seen people play Trunks and Vegeta, like you've probably seen these opening two turns pretty often. Comboing the one drop to the drop area is something that is kind of a newer piece of tech, really, and it just helps if you are stuck on only one or two copies of one drops. And here's something that I've included recently, this one drop Vegeta negate. Now that Z energy is more important, Trunks and Vegeta doesn't really have a super great way to commit things to the Z energy, because it constantly wants to recycle out of its drop and like draw new cards and spend energy on like churning through the deck. But this one drop negate is really good for negating attacks first and then comboing it off, potentially getting an additional effect out of it where you can restand your 3-drop Trunks and then putting it in the Z energy, and it just ends up being a ton of value.
Yeah, that Vegeta is huge. And I really like the way that Trunks Cheetah utilizes its Z energy. It's not like other decks where it has to build Z energy early. Its Z energy is more for its late game plays, so it can do it at its own convenience without having to sacrifice critical cards in your hand.
Yeah, it really doesn't rely super heavily on the Z deck either, which a lot of decks nowadays do. So even if you keep it out of the battle step with a lot of negates and stuff, it doesn't really get punished that hard.
I know that these two Trunks are going to be a problem over the course of this match, so I have to try to come up with some way to get rid of these Trunks. That's going to be the hard part. You're a good enough player that you're going to stop my ramp as much as possible. So I'm not really going to get many opportunities to ramp in this deck, so I have to make everything count.
Yeah,
I'm debating whether to combo that Piccolo off or not.
Yeah, that's what I was just about to bring up. It can be a pretty wise decision to like combo battle cards off when you have the option to, because Trunks and Vegeta has so much like removal and disruption for battle cards.
Mm-hmm.
But overall, I think it was ultimately a good decision to keep it, just because dual attack can be so strong against yellow.
Yeah, and you've always got to worry about Power of the Super Saiyan tapping things down during the battle step. Here I'm going pretty heavy. You decide to block with Trunks, and there's the Power of the Super Saiyan, like I was saying. I was worried about it the entirety of your turn, tapping it down and then blowing it up with the Vegeta, which is why I wanted to combo it off to get the value out of the combo. But such was not the way of things.
Yeah, you forget. There's your ramp. Yeah, you actually dealt damage there. That Trunks was in rest mode because it attacked you the last turn.
Yeah. Couldn't remember if I was going into the Trunks or against your lead.
Yeah, at this point, I'm just trying to knock you down a little bit before you build up to 7 energy. It can be pretty dangerous once you get to that point to try and continue the game in this matchup, because you have so many ways to negate my board advantage with the Kale, negate hand advantage with turning the tide. So a lot of the work I'm doing in the early game can end up uh, just getting pretty much screwed over
Yeah.
whenever you get to that energy threshold.
The best I can do is just kind of try to floodgate you to make you value is going additionally pressure wise more beneficial for you or passing the turn, which both are kind of a win for me if you're spending cards out of your hand to try to apply pressure or if you just pass the turn. So I'm really okay with either. The one thing that kind of makes me nervous is how dangerous Trunks Vegeta gets once it gets up to that 5-6 energy range. And I'm not that far ahead of you in energy.
No, I think I've kept you to like 1 or 2 ramps. So I'm within a couple energy of you, and it yeah, there you go. And it makes things interesting. I feel like I'm in a good position at this point, but that can easily change if I get sloppy or make a few mistakes here.
For sure.
So
But you are good enough that I don't think that's going to be the case. I have to respect every point that you're at with this deck because, like, you're just so good with this deck. You come up with play lines that catch your opponent off guard. You run spicy tech that catches people off guard. And I know what to expect, kind of. So I'm trying to, as best I can, stem the flood and keep you from doing everything. However, here you hit a clutch move.
you see, I'm thinking about it for a while because it is a big investment, and you could just turn around and baby hatch right after this. But the cooler here is really strong. Getting to negate your 4 energy investment for 3 energy and then draw a card is felt pretty strong, and ultimately I felt like was one of the deciding factors of the game.
For sure, it definitely didn't feel good on my end. I have a fair amount of cards in hand, and the quality of cards in my hand are pretty high. The problem is that I have the Kale, and I read the first effect on Kale, which does not ignore barrier, and I was like, crap, there's like no point in playing Kale in this match. But it's the second effect that ignores barrier. It's been so long since I played Ramp Cheetah that I had forgotten that she ignores barrier on her field clear. So I end up devaluing her contribution potential in this matchup.
Yeah, and that like we were saying before, like as the game gets more complicated, like even though that's a little bit of an older card, it's still new enough to where there's just a novel of text on it, and it's so easy to like miss that one line ignoring barrier, you know?
Yeah. So I'm not really sure where to go. You have a pretty commanding, threatening board. You've got a Vegeta, you've got a Trunks. You're set up to play another Trunks on your next turn if you need to. You've got the Cooler, which is a 15k threat. The good news is you've played your Cooler. The likelihood of you seeing your second Cooler, if you even run a second Cooler, is diminished. So I'm feeling pretty confident based on those factors that I'll at least be able to survive and find a way to maneuver through your board, even if this turn is kind of a defensive turn.
Yeah, so taking a little bit of time here to decide the order in which I want to negate things. You have 7 energy, so I'm expecting kind of a big play, and I don't want to overspend on these leader swings that I could combo out of and end up taking big double or triple strikes later in the turn. So I just go ahead and opt to free play this negate rather than hard casting it for the 2 energy.
Yeah. So here we do get the boo off, which is nice. I get to clear out some of the threat on your side of the field, slow you down a little bit. I get to draw a card off of it. It does get tapped down because of the Trunks, but I have 5 energy to spend on my turn. And had I realized that Kale would have cleared the board, it would have been a pretty good investment for me to make.
Oh, yeah.
I'm kind of curious actually about that, like, because Kel, is it double strike, dual attack?
It's double strike, dual attack, barrier.
Yeah. So even with the barrier, so she wouldn't be tapped down. You pay the 5, clear his board. Jake would have had another negate ready to go off her swing at least. But I'm just kind of curious how much that would have changed Jake's defensive play here.
Well, I think it would have caused me to like have to completely reinvest in a board, and even though this deck is pretty strong at doing that, if I don't have more stuff to evolve into, then he's pretty set up to start taking control of the game as long as he's got like a dimension magic or something that he can negate with for free and get some energy up. Even a Zeno super combo would probably be sufficient there. And here this time, the Ready to Rumble comes out, and I'm looking at that one open energy over there, and I can't help but think he's got something else after this.
Yeah, I can't remember exactly what was in my hand. Like, Baby Hatch would have been wonderful to have on this turn. I think maybe I have 8 dimension magic. I have a couple Ultra Instinct Kamehamehas that I'm going to be able to use to defend myself. So I feel like I'm in a pretty safe spot considering I've got the blocker on the field. And it looks like you missed your Trunks auto to tap him down.
I did.
So I've got a blocker to still go, but I don't think that this blocker puts in an immeasurable amount of work here.
Yeah, see, I'm digging through the Z deck, trying to see what I can do. I did play another copy of Trunks, so this second copy should get an effect, but you'll have to play another battle card for that to happen.
Yeah. Which the likelihood of that happening is pretty slim unless I have Baby Hatch in hand, which I did not see Baby Hatch.
Yeah, I think at this point I'm literally saying out loud at the table, like, oh, well, if he's got it, he's just got it, right? Like, he'll just drain me out.
This caught me off guard so much. You have the secret rare, and then what follows up after the secret rare was huge.
I'm gonna say, yeah. Why? Did you not feel like it was as much of, I guess, a reason to block that card?
Yeah, I had intended on blocking it. So Jake was like, yeah, it doesn't really change what I would have done there, so that's fine. So we went on ahead and put it in as a block. And then Jake sees the second cooler here, goes in, and then from here, I'm at 1 life. He's able to just combo out his entire hand. And then I have to try to match the power.
And even if you don't, the backbone of a secret rare right afterwards is right there, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, another 40k. I mistakenly thought he was still at 2 life here, which is why I'm going so heavy on this Trunks Rambunctious Son. And he's like, look, you've got the kill. He's like touching the secret rare.
Yeah.
But I thought he was at 2, so I'm going in super heavy here because since I'm at 3 or more energy and I have a Vegeta in the Z, this Rambunctious Son is going to be double strike.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I could have got up to like 65 or 70. And then Jake there points out the kill. And he's like, dude, I was afraid of that card so much the entirety of that match. I was like, yeah, but it doesn't ignore barrier. And he's like, dude, it totally ignores barrier. and I felt so stupid after it. But, you know, that's kind of the old adage of the channel, like read your cards, know your plays. I skimmed the card instead of fully reading the card. And that was on my mistake, and I probably threw the match because of it.
And with that being said, thank you for tuning in. Keep in mind, there's buttons down below, links, descriptions. Check them out. Bye.